Well, tell us about, I guess what I want to talk about is really just what your journey is at the moment with regards to health. I mean, you've been doing a lot with the heavy lifting and the power lifting and the, I guess the training in general. What's the sort of process there? What's happening with that?
I think at the moment, a lot of my training is focused around, I want to get as strong as possible, right?
Yeah.
That's the powerlifting for me. It's my pursuit. It's my attempt at getting some competitiveness back. We're having a chat before about basketball. Like, I used to kind of be good at basketball, not really, but ever since I stopped playing basketball, I didn't have that competitiveness in sport.
Mm-hmm.
I think powerlifting has enabled me with that again. A little bit of, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to do better. I think that's the big focus for me, but it's translated a lot to the work world as well too, because I'm realizing I can show people that I'm just a regular guy. I know I train a lot, but there's nothing special about what I do. I just am very consistent, very dedicated with what I do. If you listen to me and follow me, we can get you to do the same kind of things. We can get the same kind of results. It's no short-term fix. It's no quick results. Get rich quick. It's consistency and discipline, right?
What is powerlifting? Because it's, to me, what's the difference between that and just lifting weights at, in general? Like, is it specifically trying to, like, what's the discipline? How would you sell it? Because it doesn't sound like it's a real sexy sport, like it's not something people go, oh yeah, I'm powerlifting. I mean, I just think of those massive dudes at the Olympics that are really overweight, to be honest. So
it's not a sexy sport. But already you can kind of see the distinction between some of the strength sports you're alluding to. So with the Olympics, you're referring to weightlifting. So they're kind of different movements involved. Mm-hmm. Weightlifting, you've got movements like, you've seen your clean and jerk where the weight comes up overhead, right?
Yeah.
So there's different movements involved with weightlifting versus powerlifting. Powerlifting is purely squat, bench, deadlift.
Right.
So that's all there is. You can have some modified ones where it's like bench only or like a push-pulls, like a no squat kind of thing. There's different variations, but essentially it's the main three. It's just a form of strength
bench,
training.
Deadlift and squat, right?
Yeah, that's the three. SBD, so squat, bench, and deadlift. So it's essentially the competition is based around someone with lower body weight or with the body weight going up against the amount of weight they lift. They then use a formula to determine like a score, like a dots.
Ratio.
Yeah, like you might have heard of Wilks formula or something like that. It's a very similar scoring system.
Yep.
And that's how they essentially rank people and how you get your placings and things like that. So a small guy can lift essentially less than a big guy but still win because the ratios are different. 100%. And that's actually why it's changing, because I would agree, strongman, some of those other strength sports have always kind of been seen as these massive, massive people who are 160 plus kilos, a hulk of men, right? But it's now changing to powerlifting is actually becoming so competitive that if you're not at a very low body fat and, not carrying much extra weight, you're not competitive because that extra body fat and weight you have decreases your score as a result, because the increased weight, like a person who weighs 100 kilos who lifts 700 total is scored less than someone who weighs 95 and lifts 700 total.
Yeah, sure.
So the stigma that,
so you want to be lean.
Better.
You want to be lean because you don't want to be carrying any extra fat because that's extra weight you got to lift sort of thing.
Big time. And so that's in the more competitive levels, that's where it gets down to for sure. At local levels, people having fun.
Yeah.
We don't need to be 6% body fat. You don't need to be Ronnie Coleman, just like veins popping out everywhere. But that's essentially what it gets down to at a competitive level. So it's not sexy, certainly not sexy sport, but it is probably a really good testament to how someone conducts their training and their lifestyle and their mentality and how someone can stay dedicated.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, what do you think you've gotten out of it and what would I get out of it? Like if I went and started, what do you think I'd enjoy about it?
You'd get what I have, which is back pain. You would. Well, you actually probably would, but not in a bad way. It would be different lifting, so it would probably hurt at first, right? What I've gotten out of it is just discipline.
Yeah,
big time
consistency
discipline and consistency. On days where I don't want to, I'm at the gym. On days where I don't want to, I've got this amount of squats to do because my coach has set them. And if I don't do them, I'm robbing myself of the results. And it's like, I know how badly I feel if I get to that the competition day and I underperform, how that feels. I don't want to take that away from me. So I'm showing up there and doing the things, you know. Sessions can go a little bit longer, like powerlifting, because there's so much effort and intensity. Tend to find powerlifters are a little bit lazy and will take a little bit longer breaks.
Yeah.
So sessions can blow out to 2 hours, which for someone who's extremely busy, that can be a bit of a nightmare.
As in the training or the actual? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So because you got to sort of, is it a train till failure type of mentality, or is it very different style?
No, very different style. Training to failure, especially with heavy weights, probably leaves you in a detriment for the rest of the week.
Right.
Like a lot of people think, you know, powerlifting, you lift as heavy as possible. You lift as heavy as possible every single week, guarantee you're going to get injured.
Yeah.
Like as heavy as possible, maxing out each time.
Yeah,
you just don't do that. Like a lot of the professional elite powerlifters will max out maybe once, twice a year, like at a competition. Like that's it. They don't push beyond that. They will work in ranges around your 70% of their max to like 90% of their max for the bulk of the year, and they won't really go above that. There's lots of different ways you can run programming through there too. Like you can run weeks of higher percentage frequencies. You can change the intensity of the lift. You can change the volume, like how many sets and reps. You can change the actual type of lift as well too. So there's lots of different ways that you can manipulate training as well too. So it's quite complex in that sort of sense as well too. But the consistency
is it growing? Like, is it
hugely?
Yeah, it seems to be getting more popular. Eh?
Hugely. I'm biased. I'm with APL, who are a federation of powerlifting. There's different federations of powerlifting. They have different rules throughout Australia, throughout the world, actually. APL, I think, is one of the fastest growing ones in Australia at the moment, and that's who I'm with. They're doing a national competition next year in 2025 down in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rook. So they're doing one down in Melbourne in 2025 at the Melbourne Exhibition Centre. So it's going to be absolutely huge.
Are you competing in that?
My goal is to qualify.
Yeah, right.
For sure.
Yeah, cool.
So to do that, I'll need to have another competition in March, which is probably States, which will be held in Gold Coast, where I'll probably need to put up, it'll be about at least 600 kilograms total.
Wow.
The split between the squat, bench, and deadlift.
Right. Is that how it works? Right.
Yeah, that's kind of how the ranking works. You can win like based on a squat, bench, or deadlift. Like, you know, if you squat 200 and no one else does, you win the squat. But technically the overall ranking is based on the highest lift of each one combined.
Right, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, okay. And are you finding that through your gym work, when you're talking to like people in the gym, that because they listen to you and they see your physique, are they sort of getting interested in it and going, you know?
It's not that good of a physique.
Oh, it's pretty big. It's pretty big.
It's very white. But yes, I think
like, do you, I guess, find that people are looking for something different in them at the moment in training?
Yeah, of course. People are always looking for something different. There's always, I guess, a fad of training too, right? Like running is the big one at the moment. Everyone's on Strava.
Yeah,
I'm on Strava.
Yeah.
I didn't even run that well. Like kind of
you did a 5K the other week.
I plodded along. Compared to some of the things my mates do, I'm nothing. So, and that's the same in powerlifting too.
Yeah.
Even compared to some of the people in the gym I'm around in powerlifting, I'm not even a speck on the radar. But I agree. I think a lot of people are looking for different ways to move. I think a lot of people are looking for different ways to have fun with exercise and training. I think that's pretty key because a lot of people just think gym, running, all these kind of things are just for the aesthetic, egotistical look. Like I want 6-pack or something like that. Like pretty much everyone in powerlifting is like, I don't want a 6-pack.
Yeah, right.
That's like the last thing I want. I just want to lift a lot of weight.
Yeah,
I get a 6-pack, cool. I don't really care.
Yeah,
it's just fat.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I guess it's a different style of group. They're more interested in the numbers that you're putting up on the boards.
100%.
Yeah.
But also, you know, in the elite classes and in the local classes too, people do try and get leaner. Obviously, it does help. But it's like no one really cares about that or anything like that. And it's why you see a lot of people gravitate towards powerlifting as well too, because it's not about how you look. I think that turns a lot of people off bodybuilding. Turned me off bodybuilding. I hate the idea of getting up on stage with a tan in Speedos. Like,
yeah. Well, yeah, it seems foreign to me too. I've had a couple of bodybuilders on this show and just like, you know, yeah, I don't get it, you know, but I can also see that it's impressive, you know, and it's like one of those things when you're in it and you understand what it takes to do it, you kind of appreciate it more.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, from the outsider looking in, it looks strange. In powerlifting does too, to be honest, you know. Of
course
but obviously, is there many girls in it? Do you find there's
huge amount of girls.
Huge
amount
girls
of
getting
women.
in,
and it's awesome because again, a lot of women are encouraged for powerlifting because it's not about your looks. No one cares about how you look. We like strong women, like women just getting stronger and actually progressing and going away from this really old and out of date attitude of women need to be petite and tiny to women should be strong, like, you know, and not Arnold.
I know what you mean.
Built, like if they want to be, go for it. But yeah, like strong women who have got muscle and are not going to be weak and frail when they're old. It's the biggest thing is so many women come to the gym and just go, I want to tone up. I want to tone. I want to
Look good.
Get this curve or whatever. It's like, okay, cool. What about like so that you aren't osteoporotic at 70?
Yeah.
So that you can get up and wash yourself when you're 80. Like, how about getting that strong now so that you can avoid all those issues when you're older too?
Well, that's the body you carry in, I guess, isn't it? If you can get a decent body at 40, 50, 60, that's the one you're taking with you to your old age. So
I think they say, I don't know, I can't remember if the age is 25 or 28, but sometime after that age, you start to lose muscle mass every year. So essentially from any time in and around your late 20s, you start to lose muscle mass on average every year, on average. But by doing your exercise, by actually doing some resistance training, you can revert that.
Of course,
it's not an age-related thing. Yes, it can be harder to be consistent as you get older. More responsibilities like yourself, you know, kids, family, multiple businesses. It's harder for you to do what the time commitment I would have to be powerlifting, but you also don't have to powerlift to maintain and build muscle too.
Yeah.
You know, so there's
it's
always
and you
options.
can't do those other things if you're healthy. Health is, you know, it's the linchpin, isn't it,
one,
man?
right?
You know, you can't be happy if you're not healthy, I don't think. And so being an osteo, right? So obviously you've been in that industry now for 5 years, 10 years. How long have you been doing that for?
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah. So how do you
Had to think.
what do you notice? What do you notice about health? I mean, what are some observations you've made about just general health when you see people, you're dealing with patients every day? What are some of the things you notice in society that you think like, wow, this is a major problem?
Biggest one is underactivity. Pretty similar to what we were just talking about, like with women, but with men too. It's underactivity for sure. And not from the standpoint of obesity or anything like that. Like obviously that's a rampant issue, I guess, in most societies these days. But not from that sense of, you know, you're unattractive, you're obese or something like that. Because I think that's irrelevant for the most part. I don't care. What I find is that tend to be, you know, if the bigger you kind of are, the less likely you are to be active, right? That activity changes your health more than just the looks. You know, I don't care about the aesthetic of the look, but most people don't move enough and they go, my neck hurts, my back hurts, you know, everything hurts. And they start to come up with what we call like the high hanging fruit, which are like things that are expensive to change or are super complex and may have like a small, you know, percentage chance of influencing.
Give us an example.
like a mattress.
Yeah.
Like everyone goes, it's my mattress. My mattress is killing me. And they go out and they buy like a $5,000 new mattress.
Yeah.
And then they're like, their back's still bad. And they've spent $5,000 and they're like, well, it wasn't my mattress.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it wasn't your mattress. You work a desk job for 10 hours a day. You come home, you sit on the couch, you don't exercise, you drink a slab of piss.
Yeah.
And you go, why do I hurt? You don't move enough.
The mattress.
The mattress. Oh, but it's the mattress. Yeah. It's not memory foam. Come on, man. It's not memory. Who cares? It's not about that. Like, and don't get me wrong.
How do you go with that? Do you tell them?
Yeah.
Like, are you brutally honest with people?
Only some. You have to be smart with who you're brutally honest to. You know, some people need a little bit more candor, a little bit more kind candor. You know, actually, hey, I don't think it's this. Maybe it's a part of it, but maybe we need to get you moving a little bit more. You know, when's the last time you've gone for a walk after work? Oh, you know, months ago. Cool. All I want you to do this week until I see you next time is go for one walk in the morning. Go for a 30-minute walk up morning or night or whatever works for you. And I just want you to tell me if you feel better or worse after doing that. I have yet to have anyone say they feel worse.
Feel worse, that's right, yeah.
and they kind of go, my back has actually felt better. Yeah. And they might attribute that to the hands-on manual therapy I do during that session as opposed to their walk. Fine, sure, if they want to do that, that's okay. It's possibly a bit of both, but it's more than likely more of the fact they're moving more. And time's passing, so they're getting better. So promoting that movement, that inactivity is such a big issue in our society. It's the biggest one by far.
Do you get into the diet much? Like, what's your thoughts on, I guess, because obviously, to be honest, I think that the diet is what I see as the biggest issue, but I'm not in the space. I'm not a health person, but just my observation, I think it's so hard to eat healthy. It's so hard to make healthy choices, you know, like, if I don't bring my food from home, if I don't, you know, plan everything, if I find myself caught on the road, I'm fucked. Like you end up in a service station, you end up trying to eat beef jerky and cashews and maybe a bottle of water. That's about the best you can do. So,
triple shot of Dare iced coffee or something like that.
Oh, man. It's all just sugar. It's really, really difficult. And I find that even with people who work out a lot, there's a lot of people carrying a lot of weight in gyms. You know, I don't know if this is something, maybe because I'm getting older, I've noticed it more. But when I was younger, like I just didn't find that like people who are in gyms were heavy, but now people who are in gyms are still carrying. And I don't think, and I really hate that overweight people get called lazy because I think that although definitely some of them are, I really feel that they're misinformed and almost tricked, and it takes years and years to unwind this trick of the food. And I look at my kids, for example, and how lean they are purely by keeping the house devoid of any sugar, you know. And they go out on their way to school and this and that. They grab some stuff that we wouldn't recommend they eat, but they're going to do it. But mainly 90%, 80% of their diet is clean and healthy. But I know that that's taken a lot of effort to work it out over the years, and it wasn't easy. What are your thoughts like, I guess, as an osteo, do you get involved in the diet side of things or is it sort of outside the scope?
I try not to do too much in terms of recommendations, especially for supplements. That's a bit beyond my scope to a degree. I also teeter very highly with caution when someone has, say, a chronic health issue, like a diabetes or something like that, and they want advice. I say, no, you're probably better off speaking to a diabetes educator or an actual dietitian, right? For everyone else, I like to teach, you know, the basic macro principles of proteins, carbs, and fats. But I also, I do think food's important. I do think a lot of food is behavioral, a lot, and education too. I do think that as well. I don't think people have been taught much about food. I think people know what's good for you. Like, you know, they think of greens and fruits and all that kind of stuff, which is great, 100%. But I don't think they understand proteins, how much protein you actually need. It's more than what they recommend. And I think that's a big thing for people. I also think people then demonize other macronutrients. Like, you know, you always hear people, oh, get rid of carbs, don't have carbs. And then you hear, oh, no, don't have fats. You know, there's keto, and then there's paleo, and then there's carnivore, and then you're like, what the hell do I do? The thing is, again, it's a little beyond my scope to go too much into it, but find Bio Lane. Have you seen Lane Norton on Instagram? Really, really good. PhD, maybe in nutrition, something along that kind of line, dietitian. He's very intelligent with some of the videos he makes. Yeah. He's got an app called Carbon Diet app. It's very similar to a MyFitnessPal kind of thing. Oh, yeah. There's apps out there.
Carbon diet.
It's called Carbon. Yeah, it's just the name of his app.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I'll check it
it's
out.
not a particular diet. It's just the name of his app. There's tools out there to help you manage and learn how to calorie count and do that kind of thing. But the other thing is too, you can make simple changes without going too crazy because calorie counting is super tedious.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever tried it?
Yeah, I didn't get very far.
It's tedious as. It's like, I've got 100 milliliters of milk here. Oh shit, I've actually got 105. I've got 75 grams of wheat bix. It's like, it's so tedious. And you're sitting there on your phone typing into MyFitnessPal for hours. Or what you can do is you can make some simple steps. So it's like, let's say you make your dinner. You're going to subtract, really roughly, you're going to subtract 10% of your carbs, of your rice or something like that, and add 10% more meat.
Yeah.
Like it's a very small thing, but now you've increased the amount of protein you're getting in a day mindlessly, right? Or you might find, again, those days where you have a snack while you're at work or something like that, you end up going to get a sushi or a KFC burger. It's got like the patties for the buns or something. You ever seen that? The double?
Oh, it's unbelievable.
I'd polished a couple back in the day. You might instead of having no backup plan there, and so you would go and get some food like that. You'd say, all right, I need some snacks. Maybe they're those frozen meals or something like that, or they're just some good quality healthy snacks at work ready to go. So that when you get that itch, you go, I can take some of that too.
I think
it's behavioral.
Yeah, I think as with everything, like you've got to make sure that you don't like. I was thinking about this the other day. You got to create space, and I said this in another sort of, I guess, philosophical rant that I went on about creating space in your life. Like you create space by getting some financial freedom, for example. That then gives you some space to then create for something else, and it gives you some space. But I think what happens is, you also can create, if you've got space in your life and you're not filling it with good stuff, you can actually create space for bad stuff. And what I was thinking is like when people don't, on a very simple level, people don't eat right. Like for example, they leave the house without a nice protein-filled, eggs, broccoli, spinach, whatever, something really clean and protein rich. And then they get out of the house and they're just left, they've got space in their tummy. They're hungry and they're just going to fill it with Starbucks half liter bloody cafe, whatever they're called. And I've seen, I've had a rant at some of the guys that I work with, like doing a liter and a half of milk as a iced vanilla latte a day, it's going to wreck you. But you're doing it because you're hungry and you haven't actually filled it with the right stuff.
Of course.
And I think that's part of it as well, is just that I think if I grab 10 people and I said like, point to the healthy foods or point to the foods that are here that you would eat and that you wouldn't eat. People don't understand that, there's so much misinformation out there about food, and they're making just bad choices constantly. Like a bottle of water would go so far in these people's lives. So I guess when you're dealing with people and they're coming to you with all these problems, my question really was just, so when it comes to the weight issue, because I know society is pretty heavy at the moment, is that something that you just sort of have that conversation with them, or is it something you refer them to someone else, or do you broach it, or is it something you just sort of stay away from?
I don't bring it up unless they bring it up.
Right.
And that's partly a sensitivity thing, but also because I think the more important thing is the movement.
Yeah, right.
I think if we influence the movement, we're more likely to change anything like that first. Again, food is so sensitive. You've got behavioral issues. Some people stress eat, some people trauma eat, some people do all these, separate kind of things. There's a whole bunch of things that it gets almost psychological with. They're really hard things to change.
Yeah.
Behavioral things and habits are so hard to change, right? So again, if they continue to be issues, I might send them to someone who's more advanced in the subject than I. But I will try and change their movement. Yeah. And I will try and tell them that if we can change your movement, we're more than likely going to change your composition, your health, all that over time too. And
I guess they'll be healthier. Their natural inclination will be to more healthier foods as well if you're feeling better. Yeah.
Well, exactly. If you've started a diet and you've had 4 or 5 good days in a row, you feel pretty good. You're like, I can do this, right? Versus like on that first day, you're like, I'm going to start today. It's like you've had nothing beforehand. You're like, it's the hardest day because you're like, oh, I'll just start tomorrow. I'll just have something else, right? So it's really hard to undo those things. And that's why it's kind of the same with movement in a way too. It's really hard to restart movement. It's really hard to start movement for some people who have never been in their life, who have never been sporty, who have never been surrounded in an active family, maybe grew up in a lower socioeconomic status, so they didn't have the same kind of nutrition that they would have received from their family because their family just had to get what they sort of needed, so they lived.
Yeah.
So there's different reasons as to why it's hard for movement to restart too. I think all those things play a factor. One of the things, that's why I got my laptop, because I think these numbers are really important. Like I do think food is extremely important when it comes to everything. I definitely agree so. But when it comes to movement, what would you say? I'll ask you, what do you think is like the minimum amount people should move per week? Like exercise.
As in like, I'd look, they should.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, look, I reckon if everyone did, 4 days a week of say an hour a day of some exercise, I think that would be great.
Yeah. It's like 4 hours a week.
I think of exercise. I mean, obviously, man, I know that, well, I'll let you go, but I think that would be a great start, and I don't even think we're anywhere near that.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to ask. What do you think people do?
Yeah.
Like how much do you actually, if you get to guess again, how much do you think per week people do?
Honestly, as an average, I think I know people who don't actually sweat ever. Yeah. So I can say whatever the number is, it'd be so disgusting and disappointing.
It is.
Yeah.
It's really disappointing.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, in 2018, so it's a little bit old, but I think the numbers would hold pretty similar, if not worse. The minimum for the active daily guidelines that the government gives, government guidelines, but these ones are actually pretty good. The minimum requirement of moderate to intense, vigorous intensity exercise per week is 150 minutes, 2.5 hours. That's it.
Yeah.
Only 44% of 18 to 64-year-olds achieved it. Less than half.
Yeah.
Even got 2.5 hours.
Yeah. It's wild.
In those guidelines, there's also like a subset. It's like you should try and hit, resistance training 2 times a week. If you include that, it drops down to 24% of people do all that. So less than a quarter of the nation is exercising and doing some intense exercise and then doing gym.
Yeah.
And then the numbers are about the same as it just drops the more you start to add more exercise. The thing is, like, when you actually reduce all these things, it has such a great impact on your health, and it goes again beyond just the egotistical how you look. No one who cares? Like, if you look good, good for you. I don't really care if you look good or not. I want you to live long and actually be healthy.
And also, I think, longevity is the thing that everyone talks about, but it's nothing more heartbreaking than seeing a 20-year-old kid just not feeling great.
Right. Yeah.
Not being confident in their body, and I don't mean you know what I mean by that. I mean feeling strong. Someone who's not ill. Unfortunately, I can tell you, I won't refer to my own business, but if you looked it up, I mean, the statistics on people getting sick and taking time off work, and that's not a good way to live.
No.
So there's a better life there for them. It's heartbreaking.
Even younger, like kids in their teens. Like, you get kids in their early teens who go, I hate the gym, I hate moving, I hate this and I hate that, which is fine. You don't have to love every part of the gym, right? But you should find some kind of movement you really enjoy.
Sport is key,
right?
yeah.
And then we've got a growing population of teens who are dealing with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, constantly comparing themselves on Instagram, right?
Well, low T, man. Like, you get low testosterone on these boys that they don't.
It should be the highest it should be.
Exactly.
Like, they're in puberty, right?
They feminize and they become. It's a whole issue, isn't it, man?
But and just they lose that connection. And again, social connectivity is another thing, another determinant of health. And if you're not socially connected, you don't have a support group of people around you, people who are saying, "Hey, when you come play, when you come, hey, we why don't you come play basketball? Why don't you come do this? If you don't have those people around you, again, you're more inclined not to be active. So therefore your health deteriorates as a result too.
Yeah.
It's an epidemic in that sense. I think that social connection of sport and exercise in all aspects is one of the biggest things as to why people stay in it.
100%.
And again, it doesn't have to be for the purpose of six pack, you know,
no, of course,
pulsating biceps.
absolutely,
Like great, sure, who cares? Like, I
think that's so out of reach for most people now. I think the main thing is just, you know, being lean. You know, being lean and healthy is just, you know. Do you follow any of the I guess, well, I'll start with the Australian stuff. So do you feel that there's any like systemic problems like in our from a government or schools point of view that like that affects this stuff changes that you'd like to see?
You could make an argument, and I don't know the answer to this issue, but you can make an argument that where our society is kind of built in a way that promotes inactivity. Like a large majority of our jobs are desk-based jobs, office-based jobs where people are sitting for 8 hours a day. Like it's pretty hard to be active when your job is, you know, if you're a programmer or something like that, you have to sit on a computer. There's no other option, right? I mean, yeah, sure, standing desks. And I work with ergonomics, an ergonomic company as well too. And we do these checks and we can make them as best possible. But again, if these people
move.
Yeah, they got to move. They got to move. You cannot sit in the same posture for the whole time and expect to be okay. Even if it's perfectly set up and you're all the way up here and you're feeling nice and comfy. If you sit like this for 6 hours in your day, you will feel like shit.
Yeah.
It's like you have to move. Like there's no posture that's perfect. You just a moving posture. Your next posture is your best posture. And I think that's a big thing too. And then, you know, like, you know how when you're sitting for too long and your butt and your back starts to hurt, it's like compression of those blood vessels, that hypoxia actually gives you that pain sensation. That's why you want to stand up and move around too. So there's a whole bunch of weird things going on. I don't know the true answer to that. I don't know how we make desk jobs more active. I would like the idea of everyone having, I guess, more stand-up desks to move around and squat and twist and do some things while they're at their desk. But it still comes back down to, are they willing to do that?
Yeah, and it's got to be an individual. I mean, with always with this stuff, the individual responsibility is always where it's at. You know, you got to make sure that, like we say, you know, no one's coming to save you. It's got to be done from you, you know. So there has to be some initiative on your own behalf to really feel like you want something better, you know.
And 100%, but I also think, again, it comes back to whoever they're seeing, and hopefully, you know, they're seeing a professional or healthcare professional of some kind. I think it's too easy to put the onus on them and say, you need to move more.
Yeah.
I need to tell you how you can move more in an easy way that you can actually achieve. You know, the common one is like, you know, Sean, you've seen me as an osteo. Do you do all your exercises?
Really? That's what I was going to ask you though. Like, how do you get, you know, how do we get, as an osteo, like that's got to be one of the biggest hurdles, right? Because you do, you know, you do make these rehab programs and stuff. People would rather come and see you 5 times and get you to help them walk them through it than actually do it themselves. You know what I mean?
Some would, some wouldn't, like cost wise. You know,
yeah, that's what I mean.
There's some people who absolutely would prefer that way. Just say, hey, you do it for me, man.
Yeah. I like you just hold my hand in the spot that it needs to go, and I'll just do this. And, you know.
Exactly. This is how we'll do our bicep curls.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
hug onto the back of me, and we'll do a deadlift
that's like
together.
when people play PTs. It's like, PT will just grab the weights and put them in front of you, which is kind of part of your exercise, right? But I just want to do that bit. I don't want to do anything else.
I don't want to do the down. I just want to do the up.
Right.
It's like, it's true. Like, and there's tedious parts to exercise. And so again, when we're discussing exercise, it always comes down to, if you're not doing it, I need to find out why, right? And don't lie to me and say, I did it, you know, because you're ripping yourself off. And if you've still got pain, you're kind of ripping me off too, because now I'm kind of going, well,
what's wrong?
What's actually wrong? Like, I thought this was going to work. We did a full assessment. This isn't helping you at all. Shit, maybe we need to refer you. You know, it gets I start to think about it too. But if you just tell me, I didn't do them.
Yeah.
I instead of me being like, and this comes back to the kind candor talking to patients too, instead of being like, well, you're not going to get better if you don't. You know that, right?
Yeah.
It's your fault. Works for some. Some people who have had chronic pain for ages and are genuinely trying to deal with other traumas, you say that breaks them.
Yeah.
They go, I'm trying. I'm really trying. I don't want to be in pain. This is killing me. Thanks for not even caring.
Yeah.
Versus if they tell me I didn't do them, they're a bit embarrassed, and I kind of go, that's okay. It happens. Do you mind telling me why? Was it too hard? Was it too painful? Was it too difficult? Did you not have enough time? Did you not understand why I gave it to you? Did you feel it didn't align with anything? Why? Because then I can change it and work with them and come to a goal, because it's a team thing.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm kind of leading it. I'm kind of taking them where I guess they want to go. But you need to have that ability to talk to people and level and communicate with them about what they actually want and then what they're missing. Because if I'm just giving you exercise and I say, Sean, do them, or you're not going to get any better, that leg's going to fall off, your disc's going to drop out your ass and run down the street. Like, it doesn't help anyone. It maybe helps the really highly motivated, competitive type. But the average person's like, fuck you, pal.
Yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, you got to
don't tell me rub my back, man. Shut up.
Shut up and rub my back.
Shut up and rub my back. And so you have to be patient, and people have got different stages of, okay, I'm committed versus I'm not committed. You have to be patient, but awesome. I think you have to level with people and actually be able to communicate. And I think that's the biggest thing with medical, like medical in general, is if you can't talk to the person that's in front of you and find out what they actually want and what they care about, you suck. You suck. Doctor, osteo, physio, chiro, I don't know what, kinesiologist, make up anything. Doesn't matter what. Like, if you can't talk to that person in front of you and find out what their goals are, what motivates them, what they want, what they need, you suck. You suck, and you need to improve. You need to do that, because it is a major thing, is the person.
Yeah, for sure. With yesterday, we saw Mark Burris and we saw a few people at that Adapt or Die conference.
It was good.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. But I wanted to ask you, because you were making a few faces when Burris was talking about these Project 100. Not sure if they were good faces or bad faces, but what do you think about the idea? Because I know for me, the way I manage my health is kind of on that sort of way. I do all my own blood tests. I take all my own vitamins and supplements. I do all my own research. And I think doctors are pretty much a waste of time, except for, I've got this and I need this, or I've got that and I need that. But for general sort of maintenance, health, well-being, I wouldn't go to a GP. So I was listening to Burris, and he was sort of coming up with this Project 100 idea. And from what I can gather from it is, you get a raft of blood tests done. You, I guess, watch your levels on different things. You take supplements for different things. And the goal is to live to 100 and live to 100, not just, exist to 100.
Yeah.
So what is your thoughts around that?
Well, I'd loosely heard of it before yesterday. And then obviously, he was talking yesterday. I went home and researched.
I guess it was just framework for what he's doing. But
No, I went home and researched about him and what he actually talks about more. And I don't know if it was the interviewer or the setting. He didn't come across with the same level of simplicity that he does on his Instagram. So he sounded the way you kind of worded it. He was doing these blood tests and he was doing this test and that test and that test. It's like, okay, this is a really cool project. You're just really rich and wealthy and you can afford all this stuff. This has very little impact for the regular person.
Right.
That's how I was taking it, right?
Well, that's how you first thought.
That's how I first thought. It's how I still feel. Right, I still feel a lot of those tests like that. That one he was talking about was ApoE E4. It was apolipoprotein E4. It was essentially a marker for dementia, right? And he was talking about the blood test. That blood test, I found one for $250. Like, that was the cheapest one I could find. Some of them were over $400. What does that really give someone for their health? Like, it gives them a marker, gives them an idea if they've got it, sure. But it doesn't really change someone's health and it impacts them financially. So again, kind of putting this thing like, oh, you need to check all this stuff, demand this stuff. I feel like it's high hanging fruit again too. It's stuff that makes a difference, but it's complex, expensive. It's out of the reach for a lot of people. I think, again, focusing on the low hanging fruit, your movement, your mental health, your nutrition, your social connectivity. I think those things matter more for your longevity than some of those finer things. That being said, I did go watch some of his stuff. I do like the premise of a lot of his stuff, and I did like his reasoning for doing it. His reasoning was to get baselines and, measure stuff, what you don't measure can't improve.
That's right.
So I when I heard it from that aspect, I went, that's really cool. I just thought the way he did it in person, Adapt or Die, was
I also, in his defense, because I'm a bit of a fanboy, but
oh no, I'm not ragging on him too. By all means, I actually really liked it. I just thought that it was just at the setting at Adapt or Die.
Exactly,
he made it seem like it was everyone must do it versus on Instagram. He's doing things that everyone can do. So it was a different.
Well, I think, and what I was going to say in his defense, like he was paired up with JT Fox, who is a fractious, abrasive, maybe kind of character, and he's when JT Fox interviews you, it's more about like I'm interviewing you now, and I'm trying to let you breathe. You know what I mean? I'm trying not to. Every time I think of something, I'm trying not to cut you off with my thoughts, and I think that he got sort of interrogated about it rather than hey Mark, you've got this idea, explain it to us. And Mark was kind of put on the spot, and I think it's in its infancy. It was so I think it wasn't a great setting for him to pitch it either.
It was a very KGB like interrogation.
It was, yeah.
He cut him off a couple of times, and then every time he'd actually say something of like really high intelligence, like about pathology, or I think it was Greek or Roman mythology
rather
he was talking
than
about,
accepting it, he would
always make a joke. Oh, you're really smart, aren't
exactly.
you? It's like,
rather than focusing on the point.
Yeah, it's like, he is really smart.
I imagine like guys like that are the type of people that will disrupt, for lack of a better word, healthcare. And I think that, the idea of like, let's say he had 20,000 people, or just 2,000 people. Let's say he had 2,000 people that needed to get that hypo-lipo E4 test done every year.
Hyperlipo.
I'm sure that he could cut a deal with a blood sample lab.
Yeah.
And say, look, we're going to bring you 2,000 of these a year, as well as we're going to bring you all the other tests, which is all your standard testosterone, your standard blood sugar, your glucose, your magnesium, all the tests. We're going to bring you a standard of those. There's 2,000 of them. So there's I've got, they're 300. We want to do them at $300 a year, and we want to do them annually. And that's, was that terrible now that it's freezing cold?
That was delicious.
So, that's, $60,000 or whatever it works out to be of blood tests a year that you're going to get from us if you cut the deal with us. Or it might be 600,000. Anyway, but the point is that I could see that, when people get into those spaces and start to, say, right, this is what we're doing, we get coordinated about it, and if we've got enough people that want to do it, then they'll come up with a way to get those tests done at an affordable rate. And if it was a subscription plan where it was $6 a month, where you are able to upload your data and maybe link it to your Apple Watch, it tracks your heart rates and key metrics, or you link it up to a Whoop strap or something, and you map your sleep, you map this, you map that. I could honestly see that something like that, there is a market for. And I also think that there are probably guys out there. In fact, I know of another guy, I think Tim Gurner, also has some sort of health. I'm going to live to 100. These guys are really rich guys. They're having the time of their life. They don't want to, they don't want to. They're now at that point where they've got money. They understand the way the world works. They're confident in themselves. They don't want to only get 20 years of that. You know what I mean? So they're investing in this sort of stuff. And I think there are a lot of people. It's going to come, I think it's going to kind of come to a head where, your alternative practice people, Pete Evans, and these guys are into red light therapy and weird shit. Whether it's weird or works, I don't know. But them combining with,
Cookers.
but they come together and it'll all come together. And I think that at some point we will get a new sort of standard. You know what I mean?
We're talking about we briefly talked about high hanging fruit before, like the complex stuff, like the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that the things that people can change more easily, and going back to the thing you just mentioned about Mr. Burris as well too. Those blood tests and things like that, again, they 100% work. Like they 100% do what they're meant to do. They have a great impact. I guarantee it. I'm looking at a study last night, again, after researching Mark Burris, and there was a study that talked about some of the, I think it was like the 20 most commonly used pharmaceuticals that they prescribe in the world, and how I think the percentage was something like 30% or 30% of people have genetic variations that mean those most common medications react differently to them. How can we predict all the time that these tests that we do on everyone will have the same result as well too? So I think that's why I kind of go, all right, well, it's probably a little bit complex to try and change it. Let's change those low-hanging fruit stuff, right? Let's make the immediate impact stuff beyond that too. Sleeping's huge, man. We haven't talked about sleeping. Sleeping's probably like one of the biggest ones as well too. A lot of people really struggle getting a good night's sleep. A lot of people, whether it be because of stress or pain or hormonal issues like menopause, absolutely ruins, females' sleep patterns. Absolutely kills them. Old age, you develop a bit less of that melatonin in the brain to actually go to sleep too. So you find people wake up at 2, 3 a.m. and just can't go back to sleep. You hear it all the time, right? So sleep's really important. When you actually are chronically deprived of sleep, it increases blood pressure, increases risk of dementia, it changes mood, it changes pain, all negatively, of course. So I think if we're talking about determinants of health as well too, and we talked about social connectivity and movement, I think sleep is probably up there. I think I wrote down, and this was again from another study, the indirect cost of sleep disorders in the Australian economy had an impact of $51 billion in 2020. Granted, that was during COVID, possibly exacerbated.
Wait there, just pause on.
Yeah.
I'll just cut this. Last time I had you around, mate.
What are you doing, rookie?
Someone's probably eating lunch.
Yeah, he's like, dude, let me up. I want that chicken.
Okay, so we'll just clap back in on that.
Yeah.
So 51 billion.
51 billion in 2020.
Yeah.
51 billion from indirect sleep disorders and
That would
and
affect
issues.
them musculoskeletal as well. Musculoskeletal?
Skeletal?
Skeletal?
Musculoskeletal. Yeah.
That would affect their body as well, right? Musculoskeletal?
Yeah, it'll definitely affect their bones and muscles, man, for sure.
That's what I was going to say, yeah. I was using the technical term. You might not be fluent with this.
Let's lower the brow, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. I'm down here.
Musculoskeletal.
But you're right. Musculoskeletally, mentally is probably the biggest one. And again, too, like it changes. It changes pain, and that's probably a big one I talk about too. Like if you have a 9-hour sleep, best sleep of your life, you stub your toe, you go, oh, shit, it really hurts, right? You do the same thing on 3 hours of sleep, you're damn near in tears. It's like the whole world's falling apart. You're like, this, you're just cursing it out.
True.
It changes the gravity of pain, the sensitivity for pain. So again, people who have got chronic pain issues, awful, motor neuron diseases and things like that really change your perception of pain long term. Sleep is just tremendously important for your overall health.
Well, it's also going to affect your mood. It's going to affect your energy. Like we're talking about people who can't get off the couch and can't get into exercise and can't do, it's a total, complete, holistic sort of issue, isn't it? One of these things is out of balance. Yep. It affects something else. Even I got a cracked rib and it affected my sleep.
Yep.
And then because I had bad sleep, I had bad decisions. Because I had bad decisions, I didn't feel great. And because I didn't feel great, I didn't get, and I ended up, so you get this vicious circle, and it's the same the other way around. If you want to, I noticed that people from my observation, will hit one thing at a time rather than everything. And that's what I realize is, for me, that was my sort of, when I sort of became my fittest and healthiest, was when I realized that I need to do everything at the same time. So if I'm going to get my food right, I need to get my exercise right and my sleep right and my diet right, everything at the same time. Was what I was doing was I'd be on a diet, for example, and I'd be like eating really clean and eating well and focusing on food. And then I'd let my fitness, I'd not be doing any running or any sport or, and then I'd go the other way. I'd be eating absolute shit and then working out and hitting the gym and running and sport and the real gains that you get is where you just get it all happening at the same time. And it's easier because everything gives you more reward, more dopamine, and therefore you want to do it more. And
I think it's easier, again, depending on who you are. I would pick you as quite a high achieving guy, quite a multifactorial guy. You are able to split your attention into multiple things really well. I think it's a really good quality about you that a lot of people just cannot do, right? I'd say but that's the thing. A lot of people cannot think and do the same things that you do. Like they just can't comprehend that many things at once, especially to change, and especially because they don't have the same behaviors they were brought up with. So for some people, it is probably better and easier to focus on one thing. It's kind of like if you split your attention into 5 different businesses, each business gets a fifth of you versus if you had one business and it gets all of you, right? Obviously, let's not go into the thing about how much money you'll be making comparatively, but you get what I'm saying, the energy and intention.
And I guess what I'm just going to add to that, which to not throw you off what you're saying is, but the way I do it, and I think this is something that I'll just get on the podcast while I think of it, is that I have this do what you're doing while you're doing it attitude. So like yesterday, you would have noticed I was at that conference. I probably took 4 or 5 emails. And that was it, because I was at the conference.
Yeah.
And I don't do anything but be at that conference. I'm doing this podcast. We got 2.5 hours set aside. Everything's on Do Not Disturb, and I don't do nothing but this podcast.
Yeah.
But before you got here, I got out of a meeting that went from 10:30 to 12:30.
Yep.
And while I was doing that, I was just ferociously into that. And I think that rather than doing a fifth, your example was splitting yourself a fifth into each. I look at it as 100% for that amount of time, 100% for that amount of time, and 100% of me for that amount of time. Being able to park and go hard on something is actually what I'm doing, not actually splitting myself. That's just like my mentality about it. Is like right now, this is what I want to talk about, and nothing else matters except my dog who was trying to get out then
and did a damn good job at it too. I would say that again, your mentality is probably in the minority though.
Yeah, sure.
And not in a bad way, in a good way. I think again, you are really good at that focusing commitment to whatever you're doing in front of you kind of thing. I think a lot of people could benefit from having more of that mindset. I could. I'm all over the place sometimes. I can be totally erratic depending on what day it is, what hour it is.
Fair enough, yeah.
Can be all over the place, man. I think for the most part, for sure, devoting something 100% to each thing is really important. But when it's health, I think people know like they need to take care of their health. People know that they need to take care of their health, but they get overwhelmed with how much there is involved in health. And so that's why I do like to keep it really simple for a lot of people, not everyone. For some people who want more, I'll tell you how to do everything. But for some people, it's literally like, okay, all I need you to do is just move more. Just eat a little bit better, sleep a little bit more, go do something social a little bit more. Go do a hobby that you enjoy a little bit more. Walk the dog, walk the cat, walk the guinea pig. I don't know. Those kind of things make a huge difference to those little things. I think those add up over time. And then once it's ingrained into their habits, like, hey, because of you, I now walk the dog 3 times a week and I don't even think about it. I'm just doing it. Awesome. Now it's time to add something else. Now it's time for, okay, on those days where you're not walking your dog, now you're going to go to the gym or Reformer Pilates or yoga or I don't know, something. Naked yoga.
What did we cover off on this low hanging fruit? What else was there? Like, so
Movement.
the basic stuff. Yeah. So that's sort of what you're talking about is like these low cost, high reward.
Yeah. It's exactly what they are.
Yeah.
And usually more immediate, more quicker results, right? Moving, that social connection. Like you can interact with people for the most part. There's always exceptions, but for the most part, it's very easy to interact with people. Sleep, like there's a lot of things that you can do, a lot of tools online, programs that you can use to increase sleep quality and things like that too. Sleep, movement, social connection, food. Food is another one too. You can talk to dietitians, nutritionists, get a rough idea for how to schedule your food a bit better.
I think water as well. Remember I was saying about making space, right?
Hydration, sure.
If you fill yourself up with a lot of water,
yeah.
I think even just water is one of those things where it's so good for you.
100%.
And if you can try and get 2 liters in a day, I mean, people push 3 liters, but if you can just try and get 2 liters in your, that in itself will take out the space that you had for all that other junk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just drinking water as a substitute, I think, and replacing every drink that you have, like, when you sit down at lunch and you're going to have a Coke, just get a sparkling water. I love these. I drink these all the time, these sparkling waters. And, they just replace that need for soft drink,
Are we sponsored by them?
Yep. Singer from Thailand.
Thank you for sponsoring the podcast, Singer Thailand. So
it's the most bubbly soda water, like mineral water.
Don't they do beers?
I think you're thinking of
Tsingtao.
Tsingtao, yeah. Maybe they do.
It's a good beer.
But this is like the most bubbly soda water you can get. That's why I drink it. It's super bubbly.
Hashtag Singer sparkling water. I agree. I think hydration's a big one too. People don't drink enough. I think that dehydration leads to that mental fog, those dips in energy and some big things. Sleep, hydrating before sleep. You lose a truck ton of your water through dehydration when you sleep. So a lot of people wake up really dehydrated and you get that headache and that awful groggy feeling. It's probably part of the reason why people feel so shit after drinking, right? It's dehydration. Oh,
absolutely, yeah.
Part of it's also the alcohol, but
I actually just used that spray last night. That drops. I've done it 3 times now.
Yeah.
Have you seen that red wine? Those drops that you can put in it. That
yes.
They adjust the chemicals and the preservatives.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
To convert it from sulfates to sulfites or back whatever.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And I thought this is just some bullshit. But Dan Murphy sell it, and I was with a mate the other night. We were drinking red wine, and he said, I saw him do it. I'm like, okay, give me a go. And yeah, man, I got to say, anecdotally, it seems to work that you don't wake up with that. I mean, admittedly, I wasn't getting crazy, but 3 glasses of wine is a lot for me, and I woke up feeling relatively fine.
Or alternatively, I know it's not your thing, but you can have some more expensive Italian wines.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I've been to Italy before. I don't know if
that'll work, you reckon?
Yeah,
I
reckon
stay
it's
away
a
from
little
the
bit
cheap stuff.
Yeah,
I'm drinking the low-hanging fruit, mate. That's the problem.
That might be your issue. Less preservatives, man. You should go to Italy if you haven't been.
Oh, yeah, I'll just do that. Good. So it's the drops. So they're my options. The drops from Dan Murphy or Italy. Okay.
Yeah, those are your 2 options. Italy's your high-hanging fruit. Right? I do think hydration's key, and I think you're right. Obviously, 2 liters for most people. If you're a tradie, it probably bumps up to 3, almost even 4. Like it actually does jump up a truck ton. So, but I do think it's a big thing. It does help with that satiation to a degree. You can use there's a lot of people who are very anti zero sugar drinks and things like that. We had a Pepsi Max yesterday at Adapt or Die.
Hey, don't tell anyone I drank Pepsi Max, please.
I insisted, so then you kind of did. I was like,
that's amazing.
I was in heaven. I drink, and this is again, you could argue up around the health aspect of this. I probably have 2 of them a day.
Wow.
Right, and you could argue that maybe even more. Honestly, it's not good. It is not good, but it helps satiate that sweet tooth. So I don't get those same sweet cravings when I get it. And there's some studies that actually show for fat loss and cholesterol control, I think it's cholesterol control, or definitely just blood glucose, it makes a huge difference long-term in people with diabetes. So again, are there other health issues possibly with those zero sugar? maybe. They haven't really found anything yet in long-term studies.
Well, not that they're telling you about anyway.
No, and hey, what you don't know doesn't hurt you, right? Ignorance is bliss. But at the same time, there's some good satiating, filling properties to some of those too. Even like some of those, zero sugar Powerades and things like that too. Again, electrolytes to help you hydrate without adding the calories and the sugar. They're good alternatives.
I think the other thing is
they're not better than water.
But what it always comes down to, I mean, and water's boring, right? So
can be, yes.
At the end of the day, I've done the thing where you drink 3 liters of water a day, and you just it's even when I play basketball and I come off and I just want a beer. Not because, like one of my good friends once said, no one's ever finished mowing the lawn and thought, geez, I really want a bottle of water. You know what I mean? It's just that's what beer's for, right? So, it just satiates so much better. You can drink as much water as you like after playing sport, but nothing will compete with just having a beer. Yeah. It'll just knock off. It'll just draw a line under it and go, right, you're cool. You're done. So the thirst is handled, But at the same time, it comes with a ton of calories and a ton of carbs, and it's not great for you. But
and there's something to be said for having it every now and then.
Exactly. And that's what I was going to say.
And this is probably the overarching thing with health that doesn't get talked about enough on social media because it's not sexy, right? Kind of like powerlifting. It's not sexy. Health is extremely nuanced and balanced. You can drink every now and then, but you shouldn't drink too much. You can eat really high carb foods every now and then, but sometimes you shouldn't. You can sleep for a little bit, but then you probably should sleep a little bit more. There's always a balance.
Yeah, well
and
said.
Just because you do something wrong doesn't mean it doesn't mean you've now ruined anything. Like we're meant to be in balance. You're not meant to punish yourself for doing something wrong every now and then. Like eating on a diet. If you accidentally have a cheat meal, you go out and you have a meal, instead of beating yourself up and being like, I'm an idiot, I've ruined it, you just kind of go, that was one day. If I then make the next 10 days really good, and you have that kind of aspect, or even the next 9 days, and you go, okay, I made a bit of a mistake, I ate out, it doesn't matter too much, I had a good time with my family, my partner, whatever, and you just kind of give yourself that space, and then you go for the next 9 days again, you're probably still going to get to your goal, even if it takes a little bit longer, but you're also more balanced, you're happier.
And exactly, and you got to live, right? So the thing is, health is very nuanced and it's very personal, and you got to understand your own body. And I think that's the biggest mistake you make, especially as a youngster. Like, you go out and you do what your friends do, you eat when they eat, you drink what they drink, and then you look at some of your friends, you think, hang on, how come I'm the only one that's getting overweight here, or how come they're still fit and healthy? And bottom line is, mate, you got to work out how to run your own race.
Yes.
And I think the other thing that you just mentioned, like if you have a blowout on your diet, do 9 or 10 days. And I think the other thing is that people have no idea. Like, we're so removed from health now that people have no idea. Like, they'll hear you say you drink 2 Pepsi Maxes a day, and they'll go, oh, cool. So I can. What they don't know is that you power lift every day, that you eat really clean, everything else, and your body is metabolizing in such a way that it actually doesn't affect you that much. So what you do is you have these people that cherry pick the data. So they're like, so-and-so says, cereal and a coffee and an orange juice is a great breakfast. And so they take that bit. Then they say, well, Isaiah says 2 Pepsi Maxes is great. I'm going to have that. And then someone else said that, I can eat a burger for lunch because it's high in fiber and it keeps you. And someone says I can have 2 coffees. And they put together this ridiculously obscene diet, cherry picking the data from different people rather than just going, right. Because I guarantee if someone sat with you and lived like you, they'd be going, mate, you can have the 2 Pepsi Maxes back because I don't want to do all this other shit that he's doing. You know what I mean? Because you are also burning a ton of calories. You've already got muscle mass, which gives you a higher BMR, base metabolic rate anyway. So you're see, I know some shit about. I know some terms,
I never
bro.
said you didn't, man. You're sciencey, man.
Anyway, so the point is that, I think that's the thing is people need to understand their body. And if you're a really inactive, sedentary sort of lifestyle person and you're eating a ton of crap and you don't feel great, you don't sleep well, there's a lot of things that you can do. And like you said, with that low hanging fruit, you know, maybe just say to yourself, look, I'm just going to just drink water. I'm going to not change my diet, but in this first week, I'm just going to cut out every other drink except water. Let's just start with that.
Great.
Then I'm going to, you know, on week 2, I'm going to add in 3 walks in the morning plus the water.
Yeah.
Then I'm going to look at dessert only X nights a week. And then I'm going to look at cutting this and cutting that. And I think what people have to realize is that, especially young people, is that it's totally doable.
Of course it is.
It's totally doable. The data is out there, and people want to help you. That's the other thing. I remember when I was a bit overweight, one thing that I realized was that I was of this opinion that I had this battle, you know, but you can go up to pretty much any person that knows something, not some idiot, but go to a gym or something and say, look, hand up, I haven't got any money. I just need to sort my diet out. Can someone help me? 50 people will help you.
100%.
Email a gym and say, hey, I'm struggling with my weight. Is there anyone there that's willing to help me? I would love to get – so many people will rush to your aid. And that's one thing I wish I knew earlier, was that there are so many people that want to help.
Yeah. And again, you touch on – there's so many similar themes that repeat, right? Like that same thing, that social connectivity of a gym. Being surrounded by people who are trying to better their health, who know information about bettering their health. Some have been doing it for longer, some for not as long. And this cauldron of ideas of how to improve your health, because everyone's at a gym, right? To move better, to be healthier, to, you know, some may be aesthetic goals, but everyone's just trying to be healthy, right? You don't go to a gym to be unhealthy. It's like just an oxymoron. It can't happen, right? So, you know, you can always, at any good gym, most gyms are extremely open and accepting. Most places are incredible to talk to people and have discussions. Like I encourage people to message me. Like if you have got questions about something, I'm happy to answer them, you know, pro bono. I'm not going to charge or gatekeep information too. I've got some information I'll gatekeep, but I'm happy to help people and point them on the right direction as well too, right? Same with osteo-related stuff, you know. If people want to, or physio, or chiro, whoever, like if people want to get better at that and helping people, reach out to me, talk to me. I'm happy to sit down, have a coffee. I can't make a good coffee like you, but you know, I'll have a can of Monster. You can have water. You know,
a Pepsi Max.
Yeah, Monster's 0 sugar. But you know, I'll have something like that. We can chat about it, and we can talk about ideas about how we can help people. Because again, the biggest thing for me is trying to impact and help people. You know, with whatever their goals are, but every single goal, obviously, around the gym, around osteo space is health related mostly. So how can we help everyone be better, and how can we help educate everyone to be better? Because again, I think it comes back to education. The more you know, the more likely you are to actually do some stuff about it, right?
Sure.
If you don't know how bad not getting enough sleep is, you probably don't care. Versus if you kind of go, oh, now I know, I probably need to try and put a little bit of focus into it. You've got a chance to change
One thing
it.
I'll say as well, healthy habits and routines are the key. Like, and you know, I locked in park running every Saturday morning.
Yeah,
you know, and I got to say that has just been one of the best things I ever did. And what I love about it is it's so inclusive in the sense that everyone that's there's guys that are running park runs in like 17 minutes and guys that are taking an hour to do 5K. And I think that's the best part of it. Everyone's super supportive. If you just commit to doing something like that, getting off your ass, getting down there, just go for a walk. And you'll probably find that after a K, you might give it a bit of a jog and, you know, and eventually you start running it. But if you can commit to that, what it does is it also means that on a Friday night, you're going, well, I might go to bed early, you know, but you've got to surround yourself with, you know, good people. It's a story of life though, isn't it really? You've got to really surround yourself with good people. You got to take the effort and energy to find those people, and it's not as easy as it sounds, you know. It's
not. And the funny thing about those park runs too, you talk to anyone who goes, it's kind of like powerlifting too. You talk to anyone who goes and they're like, oh, do you like running? They're like, no, I hate it.
Yeah.
Can't stand running. It's the same thing with lifting. Everyone goes to the gym and you're like, what do you got today? Deadlifts. Hate deadlifts. It's like everyone complains about the work.
Yep.
But they know the benefit. And when they actually get started, they start to enjoy it and everyone starts to get into it. And it's almost, again, for new people to know that, oh, these guys aren't just psychopaths who really love running. they're actually regular people who hate moving
Yeah, but
sometimes.
they know they owe it to themselves.
Yeah, they know it to themselves, and they go, well, if they're pushing themselves through it, I'm going to push themselves through it too. So it helps a lot of people connect on that thing. My mother, shout out Fiona, love you. She was doing some park runs down in Melbourne. Same thing, you know. She's had, you know, some injuries, she's had some health issues, like some gallbladder issues and things like that. She's an incredible woman. She started doing some park runs. They were walks at first. She was walking.
Yeah.
And she sent me a little tag, like when she finished it, and it said like, I don't know, I'm going to make up a number. It was like 180th out of 186.
Yeah.
I was like, hell yeah, you beat those other 6 people. Like you smashed them.
Yeah.
And then, and she did that week on week, and it got up. It was like 175, 172, 160.
So good.
And she started to jog, and she had a couple more health setbacks. So we're working back, and plus Melbourne's cold as shit.
Cold, yeah. That's
so
the other thing,
we're building her back, but that same thing, again, that inclusion, she was sort of going, there were people there and they were welcoming, and
So good.
some people were running in tutus because it was a charity thing. Again, that social
and
connectivity.
it actually, for a lot of people who are in those dark places as well, like when you're overweight and the world looks gloomy, and I'm not saying that everyone overweight is depressed, but obviously there's a correlation there as well, right? Things aren't going great. When you go to those things, I know for me, it restores my faith in humanity. You got, even like that event we went to yesterday, there was 4,000 people all wanting to do better.
Yeah.
Now, okay, you could argue that they are motivated by money, or they want this or they want that, but there's people that actually are investing in having a better life for themselves, and I think for others. And the park run prides itself on having its average time go down rather than go up.
People improving, getting better.
No, but like what I'm saying is like the average park run speed for South Bank Park Run was, say, 35 minutes in 2023, and then in 2024 it's 37 minutes because they've picked up more slower.
Sorry, yeah.
They've got people off the couch who are slower.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
sure.
they pride themselves on their times being their average kind of going down, because that means they're getting more and more people off the couch. And I think that's so good. And it really, when you're running around, like the South Bank Park Run here has near on 600 to 700 competitors every week.
It's so good.
And you can't help but sit around and go, people are awesome.
Yeah.
And you know what? Like all this negativity in the world and all these bad stories you hear, you get out and do a park run, even if you walk it, and you sit there and go, these are pretty awesome people, man. And people are great. Now, I know there's other run clubs, like there's a Soso's run club here, and there's the one in Sydney that's called, I can't remember what it's called, but you know, they're all the hottest people on earth running. That's cool too, but that's also not what I'm about. You know what I mean? Like that's sort of, it's got its own thing and its own energy, and that's cool.
Yeah.
If you're single and 25 and you love, active wear, cool. But that's not me, you know? So,
that is
but
me.
I do feel that run clubs are a good thing. Yeah.
I mean, have you ever tried wearing a matching activewear outfit to the gym? It's pretty empowering. Like hot pink.
Not one of those ones that goes straight up my ass.
Like a strapless one?
No.
You should try it, man. You should try it. It'll do wonders for you.
Only Friday nights.
You've got the natural tan for it. There's a million run clubs, but again, that's one of the things that people make fun of. Maybe as a joke, some people a bit more serious about some fads when it comes to being active. Like amazing. Like there's a million run clubs around. Like one of my osteo mates, Jackson, who's in East Brisbane, does the Reformed Run Club, and they go up and down Kangaroo Point near the bridge. Yeah. Every Sunday morning. Like that kind of thing is awesome.
Reformed? Are they out of jail or something?
He could be, because he's a Collingwood fan. He looks like he's lost all his teeth. No. He works out of a gym called Project Reform. In East Brisbane or Wollongabba, doesn't matter. Yep. So that run club, it's inclusive. There's people come down, and he's an osteo again. There's rehab advice too. I know another one of my friends, Dr. Will, who does one down in Melbourne called Run West. There's a whole bunch that do all these different run clubs. It's a really cool way for people to, I guess, improve their health and make, active impacts and be part of a community. It's also a really good way for osteos and some other business people to actually create a bit of a lead generation with some business stuff too. It's a double thing, but at the same time, it really does change people's lives, and it does show you social connections not dead. You know, you can still get out and do something active, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. You know, you got 700 people running around a park,
amazing, man.
And then if someone puts on a barbecue afterwards, you're like, oh, great, I'll stay here all day.
Yeah, that's right.
Know? So it's
and do all the good work. You did.
Yeah.
Have a few snags.
Couple of budding snags.
What did you think of Goggins yesterday?
I was really impressed with Goggins. I obviously I've seen his stuff on Instagram. Obviously I really like and resonate with his, get the fuck up, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Push harder, stay hard. Who's going to carry the bolts? It's hilarious, right? And it is motivating for some people. I was wondering if that was going to be all he talked about, is don't give up and don't quit kind of thing.
Yeah, don't be a bitch.
Like yesterday, don't be a bitch.
You could sum up his whole sort of mantra as don't be a bitch, but I think where you're getting to is that it wasn't like that.
No, and so he really impressed me for that reason because, okay, yeah, I get it. Don't be a bitch, don't be lazy. Like I get that. Everyone's kind of rehashed that throughout the whole day from Ethan Donati who ran the event through to Goggins, right? They all did that. Don't give up. Don't, everyone stops just before you hit success. It's like, well, except gamblers. Gamblers always stop one time before their big win. You should keep gambling. But I think it was really nice to hear how humble he was about his position. And I loved what he talked about when he's talking about how he's working with male youth in terms of making men, and in terms of encouraging teens and young boys to treat their mums better, treat their sisters better, treat aunties better, treat the females in their lives better. That I was like, okay, I actually really like this guy. I liked him before. He was a funny character before to me. Now I'm like, no, this guy's actually really genuinely cool. So Goggins was. Yeah, he was impressive. He was very impressive.
Yeah, I felt exactly the
If
same.
he was just there telling me don't quit, I
Yeah.
would have been like, yeah, I get it. Yeah, like I would have had a good laugh and I would have been like, this is cool.
Yeah.
But that stuff was like, okay, I get you now.
He's
Like, I
the real
actually get
deal.
it.
And I think having that, see, what I loved about it was exactly what you're saying, just that there was a warmth to him.
Yes.
A care. Like it wasn't just, all that sort of stuff that you said, like that that everyone knows about David Goggins, but he actually just had such a warmth to him, particularly when he's doing a Q&A. There was a genuine care.
Yeah.
And when I thought the way he handled those, because whenever you're doing a Q&A, you run the risk of people just hijacking it with dumb shit. And he managed to, like, every time someone kind of said something that was a bit like, come on, mate, he managed to just make it a great moment. And that kid offered to do his
push-ups.
Can I do my push-up? Can I show you how many push-ups I can do? I thought he was going to say, nah, man, like later, sorry, we don't have the time or something like that. But he just went, no, all right, get up here. And then people asked for selfies, like, come on, get up here. And I think he just handled it so beautifully. He was warm, and I was ultra impressed. Probably one of the best live speakers I've ever seen.
He was really good. How many push-ups that kid do? 50?
I think he got to 49.
Yeah.
And then Goggins got him to 60.
I would have smoked him. I would have done 70. No, it was awesome.
It was epic, man.
It was really awesome. I think he was really, really well spoken, and I think he was the big reason I walked away from yesterday. Actually, like very impressed. He said one thing that really connected with me as well too. He was talking about how to stop that kind of voice saying, don't. Stop, like you're in pain. This is hard. Stop, kind of thing. And he's talking about thinking about other people instead of himself to sort of shut off the voice in his head. Like he referenced when he was, as a Navy SEAL jumping into cold water with the team, and how all he thought about was getting his team out of that cold water, and not himself. And it was a really cool resonating thing for me when it came to osteo, because there's times where I'm really tired. I'm just like, I don't care. Why am I doing what I'm doing? People aren't doing their exercises. People are doing this. People are doing that. And it kind of went like, no, I'm not really doing this for me. I'm actually doing this for the people who I'm seeing. Those people in the water are my clients who are in pain.
Yes,
I have to get you guys out of pain. I have to help guide you and show you where to go. And it changed my mentality a lot yesterday around, me to like, cool. I want to help more people.
Yeah. And I got to say, as someone who's been a patient of yours, like I definitely think that what you've got is, and I know you're booked pretty solidly, but if people can get in and see if they've got issues, I highly recommend it. But
I make room.
Yeah, man, I tell you, like out of all the osteos, physios, health professionals, because to me they're not even a difference, right? Like I know with you guys, like he's a chiro, he's an osteo, he's a physio. I was like, yeah, but I don't really give a shit. I just got a sore back, or I've got a sore this or a sore that. I just want someone who's going to fix it. And there's another guy in Melbourne actually as well who's a good friend of mine, and his name's Nick. He is awesome. And the difference, and people who are watching this will know, like, or listening, that they know that they're not all created equal. Like there's not the bedside manner, the care, the conversation, the comfort that you feel. Because sometimes you go in there thinking I've got a problem, but when you actually stop and articulate it, and if someone takes the time to listen, and it's actually not what you're worried, it's not there, it's actually here, or it's referred from there, and your issue's this and your issue's that. And man, I tell you, you've been great with my kids as well. So yeah, I think what you've got is an awesome product. Thanks.
And a lot of people don't have, again, that ability to communicate and address that with their clients. A lot of people will leave their sessions not knowing what to do or what they've got. They go, so what was wrong with me again? Like their partner will ask and they go, something in my back.
Yeah.
What do you mean it was something in your back? Like obviously you had a sore back. Like I told you it was something in your back before you went.
Yeah.
So the ability to communicate is so crucial for patient outcomes in the sense of you need to know, or a good osteo, physio, chiro, whoever it is, whatever they're doing, should be able to make you feel seen and heard, as lovely and fluffy as that is. You should feel like your opinion matters, because it does. You are a client, right? You should feel like you have a plan of attack, what to do now, where we're going to go, what your goals are, and a plan to reach your goals, right? And then obviously what's going on, what your injury is, right? You should leave knowing those kind of things. If you don't, your practitioner is doing a half-assed job in a way. And I think it's really important that people know that, irrespective of chiro, physio, osteo, all those rules are the same. Even GP to a degree.
But this is where what I do in business is exactly that. Is that I codify a standardized outcome, and so like this is why I look at businesses like that, and I think, man, if there was a standardized process that and it's funny because a standardized process, part of it's that for the client it needs to be. If the client's been through it 10 times, they need to feel like every single time was a new experience. So it has to be standardized without feeling like you're just like, have you ever gone to the doctors and you fill out or somewhere where you fill out a form online and then you get there and they give you another form to fill out and you're like, dude, I just filled this shit out a second ago. And then you get into the place where you're meant to go and they ask you the same questions and they're like, are you pregnant?
Yes.
No. How pregnant are you? No, I said no to the first question. You're just sitting there going, oh, God, this is so robotic.
They got a picture of a body and they're like, circle what hurts, and you draw like 2 circles around the whole thing.
But imagine if it was standardized, step 1, make sure this person is understood, and make sure this, and make sure he gets a diagnosis. Don't let this guy leave without an actual diagnosis, and check for understanding. Like, do you know what you've got? Well, yeah, if you go home and your girlfriend asks you what you got, are you going to have an answer for that? Because we got to make sure you got an answer for that,
I think a lot of people in medical are really shit business people. And don't get me wrong, like, it is a business. There's money to be made in medical. Should it be scammy? Should it be like at the detriment? Like, Sean, I have to see you every week or you're going to get worse. No, that's taking people for a ride and using their misplaced trust in you, right? But there needs to be some level of, here's the process of when you enter the business, here's what you're going to get, here's our plan, here's where we're going, here's how we're going to do it. Like a business plan for any kind of thing. When you take up a business with, what's one of yours, a financing thing, you talk to a financer, right? You would have some kind of plan, right? So there needs to be more of that, because there's a lot of, there's two ways. Some people are just very cold and businessy and they're like, all right, I'll do this thing and we'll see if it works. And if it doesn't, I don't really care, keep coming back. Or there's the far alternate, which is just people who care a lot and really care, but have no process because it's kind of a bit wishy-washy and they just care so much. So you need to have both. You need to have that process of, okay, we're going to do this, be calculated, kind of like a coach. I like to think of what I do more as coaching sometimes. It's like, we're going to do this for this purpose to get you back to this goal, right? But also, I'm here, talk to me along the way. We're a team. I'm going to help you fix you. You know, you said before, I want to fix I want you to fix me. Bad luck, Sean.
Yeah.
We fix you.
Yeah,
you know, I will help you fix you, but it's not going to be fixed from my hands on. Like, it'll feel better.
Man, you've got magic hands.
That's what they say. But there's, you know, I moisturize them daily. That's why. But it's a teamwork. It's a teamwork thing. And you know, the hands-on stuff feels great. It feels amazing. Like it helps improve, I guess, that really short-term, you know, pain sensation. It modulates the pain so you feel like you've got less pain, so you can move more, you've got more mobility, all these kind of things. But then when you couple that with the movement and that empathy and understanding around the movement too, that's where you see long-term changes in people. And that's what people are missing is people go, the hands-on feels good, the hands-on's fixing me. The hands-on is like 20%.
Yeah.
It's like 20% at max, like at max, if I'm putting an arbitrary number on it. It's like it feels good, but it's to encourage you to move because you feel good. And then again, it comes back to what we were talking about before. If you're still not moving after that, I need to find a way to make that barrier lower so you can start to move, because that's where that benefit is going to be. As soon as I know they start moving, everyone comes in and tells me they're better. Irrespective of almost anything, there's very few exceptions to the rule. Again, really chronic diseases can be extremely fluctuating. Some really acute things like back pain. Sometimes you'll do everything right and it's just going to bloody hurt. You'll just have pain running down your leg for a while. It does happen. But if you do the right things for long enough, usually most things are fine. And it's a teamwork thing though. I'll help you do the things and remind you, you got to do them too. Neck, discs suck. Discs in particular really suck. I had one guy who had a disc bulge in his neck and he had referral pain down to his elbow.
Wow.
And he described it as, the neck didn't even really bother him. He described it as someone with a toothpick shoving it in and out of the back of his elbow repetitively for about 12 hours of the day.
Wow.
And he was not even exaggerating or kidding. Like he said this deadpan with tears in his eye. He's like, I'm considering amputation.
No shit. Yeah.
I'm not playing around. He said, I'm considering amputation. I've had suicidal thoughts. I've had all these kind of things.
Shit.
Yeah. This guy's 100% better now. I've spoken to him semi recently. He's a great guy. He moved to Sydney. He might have come back, but either way, he was an incredible guy. But the pain was just so intense.
You just bang.
Anything I did slightly took the pain off. You know, the thing that changed it was movement again.
Yeah.
He started doing a routine of some bicep curls and some upright rows and some all these kind of things. And he says, you know what? Every time I move, I get an hour where I'm pain free.
Wow.
And he says, and it said it was the only thing that gave him hope.
Was
the movement during it. That was the one thing that really changed his experience. Was the movement gave him hope because it felt good. Everything I did, he said, you know, I can feel it hitting the right spots. It's doing the right things. He said, you know, it gave him relief. He kept coming back, and we didn't only do that. You know, we were working on the exercises too. It was just a quick little touch up as well, but it would give him, you know, a fifth of the results that the movement would do.
Yeah,
and there's very few people who would be opposite to him. So
that's great.
It's a thing. You just got to communicate with people.
Yeah. Well, yeah, man, I reckon, like I said, I think that you're the best at it that I've experienced, and it's just that care factor. You can genuinely feel it. It makes such a difference, man. So
passion. Got to be passionate about what you do.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I think that's also what it comes down to. I just give a fuck, man. I just really care. Like, I want you to get better. Like, if you're not getting better, I go home and probably to my detriment think about it too much.
Yeah.
I'll be kept up sometimes thinking about, oh man, I hope that person's better. Or I'll see them tomorrow and go, fuck, I hope they're better. I hope they've had some, like, a better week. You know, I hope that they've had some improvement. My partner will be like, what are you looking at? I'm staring at the corner of the wall. I'm like, nothing. Just hope Johnny feels better. It's like if I say that to her, she's going to think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But it's a thing because I genuinely want people to be better, and I really want to set out the plan to make people better too. But there's still that effort of it's got to be both of us.
Absolutely, man.
We've got to meet in the middle.
Are we going to see you back on a basketball court anytime soon?
You might. I don't think anyone else would want to see it.
I want to see it. Let's come and play with us again.
I think 14-year-old me had a good run, maybe up to 15-year-old me, and then it really dropped off.
Well, I don't know, man. We played last year or the year before, and you hit about 6 threes, so I thought it was pretty cool.
Anyone who knows me and knows how I played when I was younger knows that it's like the most unlike me game ever to hit like 6 threes. I suck. But if you admit you suck, it softens the blow.
Yeah, no, I think you did well. And I think, sorry, yeah.
No.
I was just going to, I guess, wrap it up. Was there anything else you wanted to cover off or anything? Because I wanted to ask you what these guys were. I wanted to give a shout out to
I snuck these from home. These are just a little bison plushie toy that I've kind of got sitting at home near the TV in our bedroom, and that's a little Pusheen cat. Pusheen is super cute.
And that's the only reason you bought it.
Yeah, no, there's no other reason. My fiance really loves Pusheen. So I just decided to bring that as just like a bit of a a bit of a memento to her as well too.
Yeah, sure.
But I think another thing we learned from Goggins yesterday, maybe the whole event too, was authenticity. I'd like to be authentic, and me, I'm a bit of a quirky guy.
Yeah,
I like to think I am anyway. Not like kind of cringe.
I don't
quirky.
think you are quirky, to be honest. I think you're just a good, nice, caring, and you're open. Like when you talk to people, you are authentic in yourself. You're not putting up a sort of. And I'm a bit the same in the sense that I don't try and be someone to someone because I'm wearing this hat, and then someone sometimes to my detriment. But you'll always just get the same me.
Yeah, and I think that's me too. And me, I'm madly in love with my fiance. I love my family. I love my friends. There's 2 dogs at home that we've got. My home is very important to me as well too. And I just thought it was a really cute thing to bring along from home and just sort of show people, hey, I'm big tough powerlifter guy, but
Have you set a date yet or the wedding?
For the wedding? This is a soft spot because I stuffed up the booking.
So you had set a date, but it's the wrong date.
Because I'm an idiot, Sean. And again, anyone who knows me knows this is like my life is just drama, like in a good way, like stupid drama by my own fault sometimes. I booked the wrong room that only fits 8 people on the 10th of the 10th next year. There's about 40 people coming. So and the other room had 50. The other room's fully booked out.
Yeah, so you got to shuffle some things around.
I got to shuffle some things
or cut
around.
The list down.
Yeah, good. I don't know which.
They
grandparents.
Can Zoom. You can do it via FaceTime.
I'll just pick the grandparents out of the hat, which can come.
That's right. Yeah.
So next year, I'll be married in Melbourne, and then a couple months after that, November after that, we're going to go over to Chile. Her home country, and get married there.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to
double wedding.
They're going to go 2. So again, if you want osteo appointments, come in because I need money.
Fair enough. Well, I think
powerlifting coaching.
That's a good note to finish off on.
Come in ASAP. No. It's a thing, but I'm really looking forward to it. So it's a good secondary part of my life. It's nice to talk business and health and all the things I'm passionate about, but then I love going home as well too.
But well, that's good. That's all balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I've had a good time.
I've had a good time.
Happy with that?
Sean? I've had a good time. Yeah.
That was good. Well, as long as you've had a good time.
I had a good time too.
I think we can finish it off there. And cool. Thanks for coming in, man.
My pleasure, man. Singha Sparkling Water. We await for that sponsorship money.
That's right. Good on you, man. Nice chat.